Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm back with one of my biggest unboxings in the history of unboxings. I got my puppy over here. He's begging to be played with. So, well, actually, I have two unboxings I'm going to do today, but I'm going to do them in separate videos. So I'm going to do the biggest. You know what? I'm going to do the smaller unboxing first. It'll be a little tease. Haha, I'm like that. Got scissors. This shipped from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Here's the box. But, yeah. So, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, all the way to South Bend, Indiana. This is the biggest unboxing in my life. Well, one of the biggest. The biggest one of all time will be the next video. I want to say shout out to Jason and Chad and all the guys in the DVD trading club that I'm part of on Facebook. Big shout out to Kaz316. This is a 20 Chikara DVD lot. I purchased this on the 15th, and this shipped by the 21st. That's including a Sunday, and I guess some places they don't ship on Saturdays. So basically, I've got a couple Chikara DVDs, but I ain't got nothing like this. First up, we got Chikara, Maiden Flight of the Great Condor, featuring the throwbacks versus Chuck Taylor and Johnny Gargano. Jigsaw versus Eddie Edwards. Marion Fontaine versus Archibald Peck. Green Ant versus Tim Donst. Eddie Kingston versus Vin Gerard. And 9 matches in all, plus interviews. I've gotten to announce for Sugar Dunkerton, a.k.a. one half of the throwbacks. And I've met Marion Fontaine before. This is a 2-disc set from October 30th, 2011, Williamsburg, Pennsylvania. Next up, we have Anniversario and His Amazing Friends from June 21st, 2011. Shane Matthews and Scott Parker versus Vin Gerard and Stigma. The Colony and Madison Eagles versus Die Bruderschaft. Eddie Kingston versus Sin Kazarni Bodhi. Ultramantis Black versus Chuck Taylor. Hollow Wicked versus Mike Quackenbush. I forgot. I saw Eddie Kingston at 2005 IWA Mid-South show. I saw Sin Bodhi at a WWA Bruiser Wrestling show in Elkhart. He didn't wrestle, though. Anniversario, the legendary Superpowers show. The Spectacle Envoy versus Sin Bodhi and the Batiri. Eddie Kingston versus Chuck Taylor. The Colony versus Red and Los Maximos. Sugar Dunkerton versus Archibald Peck. Brody Lee versus Vin Gerard. Like I said, I've seen Sugar. I've seen Eddie. And I actually just got to see Brody Lee. He's part of the WWE Wyatt family. I'll Be a Mummy's Uncle from April 14th, 2012. Eddie Kingston and the Colony versus Gekido. Sarah Del Rey versus Kodama. Mark Angelo Setti versus Archibald Peck. Jigsaw versus Tim Donst. Ultramantis Black versus Ophidian. And 9 complete bouts plus bonus material. Here's King of Trios Night 1. This might be a double dip. I'm not sure yet. I gotta double check. All my stuff's in storage. Michinoku Pro versus Team Minnesota. It looks like Darren Corbin, Eric Cannon, and 123 Kid, Sean Waltman, versus guys I actually can't recall. There I see, and then there's 3 Olay. I see El Generico. There's the Cobra. Over there, the Throwbacks versus Osaka Pro. Throwbacks are Sugar, Matt Classic, and Archibald Peck's other character. Dragon Gate versus the Spectacle Envoy. 8 complete bouts. You know, I'm new to Chikara. I mean, I've watched casually, but I know I think this is the first event where Sean Waltman went back as 123 Kid. I mean, he looks just the same. Chikara engulfed in a fever of spite. Fire Ant, Soldier Ant, and Green Ant versus the Patiri. Eddie Kingston versus Jacob Hammermeyer. Hollow Wicked versus Delirious. Ultramantis Black versus Tursus. Quackenbush and Frightman versus Fist. Anniversario, the 066-1 Joshi Fury. Eddie Kingston versus Jigsaw. Sarah Del Rey versus Mikio Satomura. Colt Cabana versus Dasher Hatfield. That's what I meant, Dasher Hatfield. The Colony versus Los Ice Creams. Sechiko and Chisako versus the Bravado Brothers. I've got to announce a couple times for Colt Cabana. And here's that. Night 2 of King of Trios, Quarterfinal 1, Quarterfinal 2, Quarterfinal 3, Quarterfinal 4, Archibald Peck's Open Challenge. Actually, I think this is the one I own, but with very cool cover art. It's done, you know, as if to be Transformers. This is Night 3, Manamani Toyota versus Madison Eagles, Eddie Kingston versus Akira Tozawa, Jigsaw versus Ultimate Spider Jr., Rey dos Voladores Mini Tournament Finals from the 17th of April 2011. Chikara, Long Time Coming, Anniversario question mark, Mike Quackenbush versus Chris Hero, Hollow Wicked versus Eddie Kingston, Fist versus Dragon Yuki and Kagura, Player Uno versus Shane Hawk, The Colony versus the Olsen Twins, Worker Ant versus Hydra, Pantera and Lintz Dorado versus Claudio Castagnoli and Sweet and Sour Larry Sweeney. Rest in peace, Sweet and Sour Larry Sweeney. I got to see Sweeney at the 2005 show I mentioned with Eddie Kingston. And I've seen Claudio Castagnoli as Antonio Cesaro in WWE a couple times now. Young Lions Cup. I'm bad at Roman numerals, so we're just going to say 1X, X, whatever. 4-way eliminator, Green Ant and Will O' the Wisp. Will O' the Wisp 11 versus Robbie Eagles versus Cobalt. Fire Ant versus Vin Gerard. 4-way eliminator, Nick Jackson versus Mark Andrews versus Tadasuke versus Sean South. Sarah Del Rey versus Hollow Wicked. 13 complete matchups in all. Does this help? I don't know if that helps. 13 complete matchups in all Young Lions Cup bouts, plus 12 large summit action. Caught in the Soldier's Den. Eddie Kingston versus Vin Gerard. Colony, Quackenbush and Jigsaw versus Tonst. Hammermeyer and the Batiri. Sarah Del Rey versus Saturnine. Gran Akuma versus Chuck Taylor. Colt Cabana versus Ultramantis Black. From February 26, 2012. And there's more. A Death Worse Than Fate. Ultramantis and Hollow Wicked versus Johnny Gargano and Chuck Taylor. Sarah Del Rey versus Archibald Peck. Kingston, Iron and 3.0 versus Donst, Hammermeyer, Obarion, and Kadama. Colt Cabana versus Cobalt, Fire Ant, and Soldier Ant versus Throwbacks. 8 complete matchups from February 25th, 2012. Season 11. We got the Contaminated Cow. I have this one. Sarah Del Rey bullied by the Batiri. Colony versus Swarm. Parker and Matthews versus Taylor and Gargano. Sarah Del Rey versus Obarion. Spectacle Envoy versus Donst and Hammermeyer versus Kadama and Cobalt versus the Young Bucks. Jigsaw and Icarus. Kevin Steen versus Eddie Kingston. Wrestling's Worst Nightmare versus Chikara Grand Champion. Hot off the griddle. From April 28th, 2012, Chicago Ridge, Illinois. Eddie Kingston versus Kevin Steen. The Colony and Jigsaw versus The Swarm and The Shard. Gran Akuma versus Icarus, Taylor, and Gargano. Sarah Del Rey versus El Generico. Eric Cannon and Darren Corbin versus the Young Bucks. 9 complete matchups. Oh yeah, there's more. Chikarasaurus Rex, King of Sequel. I think I have this one as well. Mike Quackenbush versus Claudio Gastinoli. Green Ant versus Tursis. Johnny Saint versus Johnny Kidd. Team 3.0 versus Fist. Mima, Portia, and Tuzaka versus Sarah, Daisy, and Makamoto. From July 30th, 2011 in Reading, Pennsylvania. King of Sequel 2 of 2. Claudio Gastinoli versus Sarah Del Rey. Saint and Quackenbush versus Kidd and Cabana. Team 3.0 versus Spectral Envoy. Dasher Hatfield versus Archibald Beck. And Eddie Kingston versus Jigsaw. 7/31/11, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Chikara, 8 Titanic bouts from our Wallingford, Connecticut debut. Showdown in Crisis Land. Lince Dorado versus Chris Hero. Mike Quackenbush versus Shane Saw versus 2.0 and Shane Hawk. Claudio Gastinoli versus Psychodelico Jr. Hollow Wicked and Cheech versus Cloudy versus the Order of the Neo Solar Temple. The Colony versus the Gran Akuma, Icarus, and Maxime Boyer. Los Ice Creams versus the Olsen Twins. From July 21st, 2007. Chikara Best of 2004 Road Trip Edition. Something tells me this might be pretty rare. Featuring 10 bouts in the Grand Chikara style from CZW, PWG, IWA Mid-South, WXW, and NUS, JCW, I don't know. We got Anniversary, A Horse of Another Color. Give Back My Football, Nerd. From May 19th, 2012. Wrestle Factory, First Term versus Gekido. Colt Cabana versus Mark Angelasetti. Kingston, Parker, Saturine and Soldier versus Jigsaw Matthews. Del Rey and Green. Satomura and Kagetsu versus Chikaso and Sashiko. 7 complete matchups.